friends. It's been a while since we talked gardening or permaculture here on this channel. So since we finally have a break from the rain that we've had over the last weekend, thought I'd give you a little midsummer, maybe end of summer, garden update, and we'll also walk down to the orchard and see how those are doing. So let's go check it out. So for context, if you guys don't remember, this is my chaos garden, aka it's my first year doing a big vegetable garden, and I have no idea what grows here. So I kind of made the beds at the beginning of June. As soon as it seemed like we were past any threat of freezing, I pretty much just kind of threw the seeds on the ground, buried them a little bit, and then set up this drip irrigation system and let it go. So it's been about 2 months since I planted everything. Let's go bed by bed and see what actually grows at 9,500 feet. So bed one was where I put a lot of the spinaches and lettuces, things like that. They've done surprisingly well here. I did plant calendula and lemon balm in this bed, and those I haven't seen anything of. So herbs I think will do really well in the greenhouse once we have those. The mint has just taken off randomly. The basil, not so much. So let's check bed two. Bed two, kind of a mishmash of things. The spinach has finally taken off, and these cucumbers I think have just started popping up. I don't know if we're gonna get them before it gets too cold here. Corn, now that we got a bunch of rain this past weekend, seems to be growing a little faster, but again, it's gonna get cold here quickly, so we'll see if we actually harvest anything by the time there's corn and beans ready to harvest. So before I jump into bed three, I'm gonna show you the potato garden. So the third and fourth beds have been less lush than the first and second. I don't know if it's because it gets less water just due to the drip irrigation system, or it's those plants that I chose, but the carrots should be able to be harvested soon. We got a couple different types. The spinach is newly popped up last week, so I'm excited to see that. I actually expected that within 30 days planting it, so that's a nice surprise. And the fourth bed is really sparse, but I'm gonna show you that. None of the tomatoes that I planted came through. Though I'm starting to see some new sprouts in the middle of the bed, so I'm waiting to see what that is. But the most exciting thing, and also none of my sunflowers, but the most exciting thing in bed four are the pumpkins. So really the vegetable garden has been doing pretty well. Again, I call it chaos gardening because I was just trying to figure out what actually grows here. Now I know what I might try in the greenhouse when we're able to plant that, or plant in that when we build it. So there are some things I'll probably keep growing outside, namely the corn, the beans, and the potatoes. I'm also really excited to try onions, garlic, and sweet potatoes next year. I didn't plant any of that this year. I do have garlic on order for fall planting. Yeah, the lettuces and things, I'll just move to a greenhouse and plant a lot more of that, namely because Jazz keeps eating the lettuce. You're like, why did you put up a fence? It's not because of deer, it's not because of rabbits, it's because of Jasmine. She pretty much ate all of the lettuce heads right out of the ground before any of us had a chance to try them. So yeah, she's banned from the garden. Now that we've seen the vegetable garden, let's go check out the orchard, because that's also been doing pretty well too. Welcome to the orchard in its prime. Well, its prime will hopefully be 5 years from now when things actually look like trees and bushes. I'm gonna kind of walk up and down the berms here. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the retention pond now that we've had some experience with it, and what actually worked here and what didn't, because although almost everything worked, there were a few exceptions and they all died spectacularly. So let's go look. So in our first row here, we've got several types of apple trees, and what originally were planted were gooseberries. I was really excited to try gooseberries. They said they worked in this zone. Well, I'm gonna show you what happened to the gooseberries. That's what happened to the gooseberries. They're dead. They were planted there, dead. Again, really excited for the gooseberries. They never took off. I think they died probably as soon as I put them in the ground. So finally, actually just a few days ago, I yanked them out. I'm not gonna try again. I will probably get some other type of berry to intersperse between the apple trees, and we'll try those. But the apple trees are doing great. Let's talk about the retention pond really quick. So pretty much every time that I've talked about it since last fall when we actually dug it out, I've been like, I don't think we get enough rain here to justify it. I don't know if it was worth building it this deep. We've had one monsoon rain where we got probably like an inch in an hour. We weren't even here, we were in town. We came back and this puppy was full. This whole retention pond was full and the swales were full of water. That's how much water there was, and it was overflowing. So, like I said, a ton of water, probably also coming down the slope from the house too. And you can see a lot of the cracks in the ground because it just basically got so much water and then dried out so quickly. We've had rain since then, but it just hasn't been significant. This past weekend we had kind of like that slow drizzle, nothing rushing for the retention pond. So I feel validated that we planted it, I guess, or buried it, dug it out. Feel confident that we dug it out, but it's probably only, maybe on rainier years, we've had a very, very dry summer, according to locals that I've spoken with. So my guess is that on wetter years, we'll find more use for it. This year, you know, it's kind of a hit or miss. Maybe we'll get one more. For berms 2 and 3, the most detrimental thing for my trees were the cows before we had the fence installed. So we have 1, 2, 3 trees that were broken by cows before the fence went up. I'm happy to report they are all coming back, but you know, probably lost like a year or 2 of growth just by them being cut. So I'm gonna show you those. The raspberries have come up in some success. I separated the canes, but given how few are flowering, I wonder if I wasn't supposed to. So I might order more and plant them again next spring. By the way, apples and cherries grow well here. Pears, hit or miss. This Warren pear, not even gonna zoom in on it, it's dead. However, a Kiefer pear tree in berm 4 that I planted actually just started showing signs of life recently, so I'm excited about that. Despite being forewarned that blueberries do not do well here, most of them have. The Elliott blueberries have done a lot better than the Chandler blueberries, and the Canadian choke cherries I planted, both were doing really well despite being eaten down by cows. One of them's come back, the other looks dead, so I think I'm gonna have to replace it. But the, I keep on calling it schnozberry, I forget what it's called, but it's basically another type of choke cherry. And my Brook Gold plums, which I thought for a very long time were cherries, are doing quite well, including one that I was for sure certain was dead and it came back to life. So I'm gonna show you those now. And that's gonna mostly wrap up the orchard except for one more thing that died. The other thing that died that I also pulled out were the currants. And it's crazy to me because there are wild forageable currants all over the property. I've eaten them. They taste good, and I kind of wish that the ones I planted had grown, but they also seem to be like dead on arrival. So I pulled those out, again, replaced with some other type of berry. I gotta do some more research, but that'll probably happen next year. So yeah, that's the orchard. So yeah, really excited what we've been researching and discovering in this first year of our vegetable garden, and I'll bring you guys along when it's time to harvest stuff. So see you next time. Leave any comments below, and if you also have any advice, leave that below, because I am open to anything, especially high altitude gardens and like zone 4, probably realistically. So catch you guys later.